Good evening and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. We begin with the Presidential Election Petitions Court, which has admitted in evidence the certified true copies of documents obtained from the Independent National Electoral Commission by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Atiku Abubakar regarding the conduct of the February 23 presidential election. The petitioners in this matter, through their counsel, have so far tendered documents relating to the election in 7 states. Dele Atumbi reports.
The resumed sitting of the Presidential Election Petitions Court, counsel to the PDP and its candidate Atiku Abubakar, Levi Uzogu, SAN, told the court of their intention to review the process of tendering their documents from local government to local government and state by state to fast-track the process. Before this request, the PDP and its candidate have tendered the document for 2 states, Niger and Yobe. This request was not objected to by the counsel to the respondents, which are the Independent National Electoral Commission, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the All Progressives Congress. So far, the PDP and its candidate have tendered documents concerning the presidential election for 7 states. The states are Niger, Yobe, Katsina, Kebbi, Borno, Jigawa, and Gombe. The documents tendered are Form EC8C, EC8B, and EC8A, as well as the receipts for the certification of the documents. Counsel to the Independent National Electoral Commission, Ustaz Usman, SAN, objected to the admissibility of the documents. Counsel to President Muhammadu Buhari, Mike Igbokwe, SAN, and APC Charles Edosonwan, SAN, also objected to the admissibility of all the documents tendered by the petitioners, with the attachments which the counsel described as containing editorial judgments by the petitioners. Counsel to the respondents, however, said they will adduce reasons for their objections in their written final addresses. The PDP and its candidate are challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari in the February 23 presidential election. PDP and its candidate have 10 days to call their witnesses as agreed by all the counsel in the matter, while the respondents have 6 days each to also call their witnesses. Counsel to the petitioners, Levi Uzogu, SAN, had informed the court that the petitioners intended to call 400 witnesses in the matter. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has upheld the election of Gboyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress as the governor of OSUN State. The court, in a majority decision of 5-2 justices, dismissed by a split decision the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party's Ademola Adeleke against the election of Oyetola. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewu reports.
The judgment of the 7-member panel, led by the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, affirmed the election of Gboyega Oyetola as the governor of Osun State, following the September 2018 elections. The judgment of the Apex Court on all the 4 appeals followed the same pattern, and this has been the trend of the case from the tribunal to the Supreme Court. 5 justices of the Apex Court affirmed the majority judgment of the Court of Appeal, which was delivered on the 9th of May. 2 others differed. The lead majority judgment was delivered by Justice Bode Rhodes-Vival, with Justices Muhammad Kudirat Kekereekun, Amiru Sanusi, and Uwane Abba Aji consenting, while Justices Kume Akas and Paul Galinje dissented.
On our part, we're happy. We thank God for this victory. Now the governor of our state can settle down to the serious business of government.
My majority decision, aside from the issue of technicality, went straight into the merit of the case, and they said that the appellant has fulfilled constitutional requirement on the 22nd of September when the election was first conducted.
This judgment effectively ends the 2018 governorship election of Osun State. In Abuja, Femi Okewu, NTA News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has sent a congratulatory message to Governor Gboyega Oyetola of Osun State on the Supreme Court ruling which affirmed his victory in the September 2018 state governorship election. This Supreme Court decision, according to the president, lays to rest the tussle over the governorship election and removes all encumbrances on the path of the governor from fully delivering the gains of democracy to the people of the state. In a statement by the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the president commends the government and people of OSUN for allowing the rule of law to run its entire course. He therefore urges Governor Oyetola and the ruling All Progressives Congress to be magnanimous in victory and make concrete moves towards inclusive governance. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has congratulated the governor of Osun State, Gboyega Oyetola, over his victory at the Supreme Court on Friday, urging him to be magnanimous in victory. A statement by his special assistant on media and publicity, Mohammed Isa, describes the judgment as a victory to democracy, the All Progressives Congress, APC, the governor and people of Osun State. Senator Lawan advises Oyetola to put behind him past events during the election period and its aftermath litigation and concentrate on tackling the challenges facing the state. He urges him to run an all-inclusive government where everybody in the state will be carried along for the greater good. The All Progressives Congress welcomes the ruling of the Supreme Court affirming the election of Gboyega Oyetola as the governor of Osun State. The party congratulates Governor Oyetola and indeed the party's Osun State chapter for successfully defending its legitimate mandate. In a statement by the National Publicity Secretary of APC, Lanre Isa Onilu, the ruling no doubt will cement the majority status of progressive governors in the country. The ruling, the party says, will now allow Governor Oyetola, the Governor Oyetola-led APC administration in Osun State to focus on the core business of governance and implement the many pro-people developmental plans for the state. And following the Supreme Court judgment, the Osun State Governor, Gboyega Oyetola, is calling on the people of the state to remain calm and peaceful. He says the judgment is a victory for the people. Correspondent Femi Afariogun tells us more.
Triumphantly, Governor Oyetola moved around major streets in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, thanking the people for their show of love. Traffic was at a standstill as supporters of the APC joined the governor's procession chanting victory songs. The governor has dedicated the Supreme Court judgment to the people of the state.
I feel a crowd that believes that the judiciary has done the best in terms of reaffirming the mandates they gave to me. I will continue to dedicate myself to the service of the people. The love they have shown clearly demonstrates the fact that I must put in more effort to ensure that I give them the dividend of democracy.
He is, however, extending hands of friendship to the People's Democratic Party to build a viable state for the people. The Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal had declared Ademola Adeleke of the People's Democratic Party winner following his petition against the outcome of the September 22, 2018 governorship election. But the Court of Appeal turned this down and affirmed Oyetola. This Supreme Court's judgment puts an end to the legal battle for the Osun State #1 seat. In Osogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
And in other news, President Muhammadu Buhari departs Abuja on Saturday for NIAMEY, Niger Republic, to attend the African Union Summit scheduled to hold on July 7. A statement by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the President will participate in the 12th Extraordinary Session of the Assembly on the Union on African Continental Free Trade Area and the first mid-year coordination meeting of the AU and the regional economic communities in NIAMEY. The extraordinary session of the Assembly of the Union is expected to launch the operational instruments of the agreement establishing free trade area. The instruments include the free trade area rules of origin, tariff concession portals, portal on monitoring and elimination of non-tariff barriers, digital payments and clearing systems, and African trade and observatory dashboard. Prior to the summit, the Buhari administration had embarked on extensive consultations with stakeholders, culminating in the submission of the report by the Presidential Committee to assess impact and readiness of Nigeria to join the free trade. The committee had recommended that Nigeria should sign the agreement, which aims to boost intra-African trade. President Buhari will sign the agreement on the margins of the AU meeting in NIAMEY. President Buhari will be accompanied to NIAMEY by the First Lady, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, Governors Babagana Zulum, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, and Aminu Bello Masari of Borno, Kebbi, and Katsina states, respectively, among other top government officials. Now, Nigeria's economic performance in the first quarter of 2019 has been described as fair, following the 2.01% growth in the gross domestic product, a clear shift from 1.89% recorded the same period in 2018. Abolade Salami reports that this was made known at the quarterly review of the economy in Lagos.
The excitement over Nigeria's imminent ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is understood from its standing as an economic and political giant on the continent. This is why the African Union is bringing for the first time the 8 regional economic blocs on the continent to work out how the free trade agreement will be facilitated for rapid economic integration. 13 heads of states are also meeting at this summit to examine the gray areas of the initiative. But by far, Nigeria's decision to endorse the trade agreement is the biggest news at this meeting.
There is a general excitement about Nigeria's accepting to sign the agreement. And of course, Nigeria being a big player on the African continent, whatever decisions they take is a decision that will reverberate across the continent, especially when you look at the enormous possibilities that are abound in Nigeria. When you have, a market of over 200 million people, definitely you are forced to contend with. Now, signing the Continental Free Trade Agreement by Nigeria is a big boost to the entire agreement, because that means that you are taking on board this large population, this large market, these large prospects of economic prosperity.
At a press briefing, the African Union Commissioner for Economic Affairs, Victor Harrison, cited the level of integration attained by ECOWAS under Nigeria's leadership as one that can be used as a model to actualize the African Continental Free Trade Area.
In pushing for the ratification of the African Free Trade Agreement area, the African continent is very much aware of the need to dot all the I's and cross all the T's to ensure that this agreement becomes a blessing and not a curse to the continent. This is because its production base is still very low, while its import volume is very high. From Niamey in Niger, Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
And that was a throwback to the earlier report of Africa's excitement on the signing of the free trade agreement. Now, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has assured Nigerians and operators in the oil industry that the 9th Senate will conclude works on the Petroleum Industry Bill. He gave the assurance when he granted audience to the management of ExxonMobil. Ignatius Nkwo was there for NTA News.
The Petroleum Industry Bill, seen as key to the reforming of the oil industry in Nigeria, is one of the bills that has not been passed into law by the National Assembly.
Oil industry in Nigeria.
At this meeting, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, sought the support of oil companies in reforming the sector. He also advised oil companies operating in the Niger Delta to improve on their corporate social responsibility.
So we have learned our lessons from the previous experiences. And going forward, we intend to start work on the petroleum industry bill as quickly as possible. This time around, we would like to work very closely with the executive arm of government, those who will be implementing the bill, but we would also like to have you on board as early as possible.
Senator Lawan also met with the forum of former members of the House of Representatives, led by former Speaker Umar Galina Abba, during which he assured them of all-inclusive and stable parliament.
I feel that all of us are safe, but where there is a very unjustifiable deal, then we will always be there to ensure that the right thing is done, that justice prevails, and I can tell you that this is what the Ninth Senate stands for.
The legislature, if anything, has the quality to unite this country.
The president of the Senate also granted audience to the Niger Delta Youth Forum, during which he also pledged legislative intervention in addressing challenges in the Niger Delta region. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
Now let's go back to the report of Nigeria's Economic Quarterly Review.
The media briefing was to review the nation's economy in the first quarter of 2019, which the president of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Babatunde Ruwashe, said recorded some level of appreciable growth in the macro and microeconomic sectors, with a 2.01% increase in GDP and a 34% rise in foreign investment into the country, as well as a stable rates and liquidity ease across the markets.
We expect that the ongoing recovery should gather pace this year, supported by higher private consumption, which will be by the minimum wage hike, and healthy investment activity amidst more accommodative monetary conditions and winning post-election uncertainty.
On the 5-year roadmap of the Central Bank of Nigeria, which focuses on job creation, building a robust payment system, and improving access to credit for MSMEs, the need for the Apex Bank to ensure MSMEs benefit from the 220 billion fund was emphasized.
That the Central Bank should adopt that sort of method where they give this fund, make it available through the commercial banks, and also take care of the risk on their own. I mean, so you would get the commercial bank to have done whatever they had to do, and then allow that fund to be released to them.
The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, while acknowledging the economic policies of the federal government, also called for a more public-private partnership with a view to further developing the economy. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Still talking money matters. Ahead of the 25th Nigerian Economic Summit, the Ministry of Budget and Planning has inaugurated a joint planning committee to facilitate smooth staging of the summit. Olayinka Ojo reports that the theme for the 2019 summit coming later in the year is Nigeria 2050, Shifting Gears.
The United Nations recently projected that Nigeria will double by 2050 to 410 million, making Nigeria the third most populous nation in the world. This has far-reaching implications on economic growth and development. The question now is, what kind of Nigeria would you like to see by the year 2050?
Nigeria that will be technology-driven, that will cater for the population ahead of us.
Because that is what most of the countries are using right now. They're using technology to make their country a better place.
In Nigeria, that everything would have been conquered. Housing would have been conquered, hunger would have been conquered, and even job would have been conquered as well.
With the issues of maximizing the demographic dividend for the growth and development of the country, as well as mobilizing and attracting needed investment and the development and deployment of human capital to achieve higher productivity key, these experts believe it is imperative to look at the future and stimulate long-term economic plan for the country, since the lifespan of the economic recovery and growth plan will end next year.
The engagement should be sustained, particularly given the enormous contribution it has made in shaping policy direction of government.
Only a competitive private sector economy can achieve a rising standard of living.
Being the largest economic summit in the country, the annual Nigerian Economic Summit, which started in 1993, is the premier public-private platform for dialogue between the federal government and the private sector. It is the hope of the likes of Sonia, Brown, and NECA that the journey of the kind of Nigeria they want to see by the year 2050 begins from now. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
And now Rukaya is standing by in Kaduna with more reports. Hello, Rukaya.
And thank you for joining us in Kaduna Network Center. Governor Nasir Ahmed Al-Rufai has flagged off the reconstruction of Kaswan Magani Market that was destroyed during the October last year communal conflict. Muhammad Umar Ajingi reports.
This flag-off of the reconstruction of Kaswan Magani Market brings renewed hope to the community, having lost their source of livelihood to the October 2018 communal conflict. It is a 2.7 billion naira project expected to be completed in 10 months with more than 2,000 shops, including a modern abattoir, a clinic, police post, and fire service. Governor Rufai says rebuilding the market is meant to promote peace and economic prosperity in the community.
I appeal to all our communities to work for peace and harmony. Economic development requires an atmosphere of concord in which everyone feels safe to pursue their livelihoods.
Impressed by the gesture, the community conferred 2 traditional titles on the governor. The market reconstruction project in communities affected by conflict will be extended to markets destroyed in Zankua and other communities in the state. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Media executives and other relevant stakeholders in the broadcast industry rose from their meeting in Kano amid concern over hate speech fueled by some media organizations and demand full enforcement of the National Broadcasting Commission Code to avoid acts inimical to national interest. Ramatu Abdullahi reports.
The broadcast media is becoming more dynamic both in content and practice, with emerging trends that have continued to pose challenges to the industry, thus necessitating a national consensus on regulatory provisions for the broadcast media. The launching of the 6th edition of the MBC Code provided avenue for regulating trending issues such as the hate and dangerous speech, nature of local content, sports development, among others.
Essentially, the code from 1993 has been spelling out crystal clear as to the responsibilities of proprietors and also the practitioners as to how they go about discharging the function of broadcasting at national, at local, at community level.
When you now have 91 political parties as against 5-6 some 20 years ago, the political space is congested. So you need to redefine and make sure that nothing skips.
We hope that the new code will meet all the challenges and of course address all the challenges that we have observed over the years.
Director General of the MBC, represented by the Secretary of the Commission, Mujitaba Sada, called on media professionals to tread the path of professionalism which the code provides. The book reviewer, Professor Umaru Pate of the Bayero University, Kano, says the 16th chapter book can only be relevant if it is well understood and professionally respected by media practitioners. Reactions from members of the academia stress need for the Commission to make copies available to community stations. Ramatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
In line with the new policy on local government financial autonomy, Jigawa State Government has kick-started the implementation of direct funding to local government councils. Hawa Haliru Haruna reports that this is coming as the state has newly elected local council chairman. The report.
These are 27 newly elected local government chairmen in Jigawa State taking oath of office after the council's election held recently. Their tenure of 2-year term will open a new page in local government administration as they came at a time when the long-awaited local government autonomy is feasible. The state acting governor, Alhaji Umar Namadi, urged the new council chairman to use the opportunity provided by the financial autonomy to develop rural areas.
For the last 4 years, what has been happening is that the state government usually borrows money
the local government to pay for the education and the local government staff. Now, but as you are aware, now there is a new circular which says that local government will receive their money, will have to pay all their money directly to their own account.
From Dusi, Hawa, Halera Haruna, NTA News.
And those are our contributions from this zone. Is back to Najatu in Abuja for more stories on Nationwide.
Thank you, Rukaiya. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reappointment of Boss Mustafa as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Malam Abba Kyari as the Chief of Staff to the President. The reappointments take effect from May 29, 2019. Let's now pause for a break. Nationwide continues on NTA International DSTV Channel 251 and NTA News 24 Channel 101 on the Star Times platform. AFCON second round matches begin on the terrestrial transmission on the network service and on Star Times Channel 103.